o'clock, more pressing matters, literally, because after passing through the House of Lords, the Football Governance Bill is currently going through its second reading in the House of Commons. Now, just a reminder, first of all, of how we got there. Following the fallout to the European Super League, you remember when Simon and I were on that morning, all hell broke loose. The Conservatives launched the fan-led review of football, which made a number of recommendations, including the creation of an independent regulator for the game. And that received cross-party support. But it collapsed due to the general election being called last year. The creation of a regulator was committed to in party manifestos, including by the Conservatives. Following victory in the general election, Labour reintroduced the bill with the introduction of a regulator moving forward. So what would the regulator do? The regulator will be independent from government and sport authorities and will oversee England's top 5 divisions. It aims to create sustainability with clubs needing licences to run, conditions needing to be met in relation to governance and finances. But where are we at now with it? The shadow sports minister, no less, is Louie French MP, and Louie is in studio this morning. Louie, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning to all your listeners. It's fantastic to be here.
Great to have you, and I'm delighted. The first thing you said, you're a fan of the show.
Absolutely. I normally listen most mornings, but I'm going to get a grilling today, so I might not enjoy it as much as normal.
You won't win us over with that, so don't worry. Where do you stand on the independent regulator for football, and what is the consensus that you're getting across the House right now?
So last night the bill went through the second reading. It was passed by the majority of Labour MPs and Liberal Democrat MPs. Conservatives now are fully against the regulator, and the main reason for that is it's no longer independent. So Labour have disgracefully appointed one of their key donors and one of their cronies to the position of the regulator. And if that wasn't bad enough, just to highlight that it's not independent, they've got 38 civil servants already working on this thing. There's no one in football involved with this. This is a government regulator.
And is your feeling on this gaining support?
Yeah, so I think people are now becoming aware. We've been pushing the government to disclose correspondence from UEFA in particular. I think most football fans would appreciate UEFA, FIFA and these other international bodies will not want countries around the world setting up their own government interference into sport, in particular football. So this is a major, major risk coming down. We are pushing the government to publish those letters from UEFA which highlight the risks to English football.
You see, this is why many people, I think, Louie, are confused about politicians, not you specifically, but about politicians in general. Because, am I right? Back in February 2023, you seemed happy enough with the idea of a regulator in the game. This was in the House of Commons, and this was Louie.
Following years of misery and uncertainty for fans at local clubs such as Charlton Athletic, I welcome the news of an independent football regulator. But can my right honourable friend assure my constituents that the regulator will have sufficient powers to deal with regulatory breaches and strengthen those ownership tests?
Absolutely, and this is why we will be making sure that the independent regulator is backed by legislation. We want to ensure that they do have the powers that are needed. We do need to ensure that they have the sanctions that are needed so that they can absolutely do the important work that we are commissioning them to do. And he's right to have highlighted these specific areas.
So, Louie, what has changed?
So the bill's completely different, in my opinion. So professionally, if you take aside the donor and the issue around the independent point just for a second, you also have a number of add-ons that have been added, and this is the scope creep, as we like to call it in legislation. So the regulator now, the government regulator, is proposing to deal with parachute payments, which is obviously a very controversial issue in football. It's putting mandatory requirements on EDI reporting for lower league clubs. You know, take a Bromley Town, League 2 team. Do they really want to be spending their money and resources on EDI reporting? We know that football's done amazing to change the game over the years, but it's done it without the government. Why do we need the government reporting EDI mandatory reporting? And there's a load of other issues around there. So I absolutely do want to see stronger ownership tests. I want to see fans have more say in the game. Absolutely. Fans are the most loyal people in football, as we know. But we have to be reality about the business side of football. And as I put it out in the House last night, football is a delicate international ecosystem. Simon knows better than anyone. And actually what I'm worried about is we're going to remove the competitive of English football. And Labour MP, after Labour MP said about how great the benefits of the Premier League was. But the reality is the regulator they're putting forward now would mean that the Premier League wouldn't exist in its current form.
I see you listening intently to Louie, and I know where you stand in this. You don't want this thing, Simon.
No.
But if a regulator doesn't take charge, who does run football?
Well, who should run football is
Who
the
should
FA.
run it?
Is the FA,
Right.
and they've abdicated their responsibilities, and the de facto regulation of the game is very poor, and they shouldn't have allowed to be in that situation. I don't like politicians too near sport. I think they utilise it for their own end game, and of course, at the beginning of the little soliloquy in the House of Commons that Louis was alluding to, as he didn't want misery for Charlton fans. I won't fall into that camp. I'm quite happy to have Charlton fans have as much misery as possible. But in all seriousness,
he's having a good time at the moment. I've got to agree. Palace done well at the weekend.
In all seriousness, I think that we have a pyramid that is remarkable.
Yeah.
That's had challenges, like all industries have challenges. Regulated industries don't tend to prosper. They tend to be stifled and challenged. I think politicians use sport for opportunities to create populist outcomes. We are an outlier now in football by having a regulator. No other country has regulators in their sport, so why would we? Why do we need it? We've got an unprecedented success with a few challenges. You've got a very effective administration inside the EFL now. I think Rick Parry and Trevor Birch have done a very good job in very difficult circumstances. I think the challenges that people talk about when they use the example of representing smaller clubs, they would have never stopped Mel Morris. A regulator wouldn't stop Mel Morris. Mel Morris's intentions were the best intentions, unfortunately, at Derby. So they would never have prevented these sort of scenarios. I think you create government appointments. I think it'd be interesting to see what the Tories would have done with it in terms of they're talking about cronyism now, and they're talking about a political leaning in towards sport. It was always going to be that. It's a government appointed position in the first place. How far it goes in, how deep they've got, what backstops they get into place, whether they are able to negotiate parachute payments, whether EDI should be part of the conversation. It was always a flawed principle. You went to the fans and asked the fans what their view is. The fans will tell you that they should own the game. And if you're going to base your blueprint, with all due respect, on what the fans think about how football should be run, you're going to get one outcome, which is the fans want it run a different way.
To begin with then, Louis, do you think your party made a mistake?
I think the intentions were right. I think it was on the back of the European Breakaway League, and obviously the Bury situation, to be quite frank. That was the politics of the time.
Right.
A lot of it predated my time in Parliament, if I'm being honest. But actually, I think where it's got to, and if you speak to some of the ministers that were in power at the time, they would say, if we knew it was going to end up here, we wouldn't have started this.
Does regulation ever work?
I think actually, if you look at football, I think football has succeeded because of a different style of regulation, which, as Simon has quietly said, I don't think politics should be anywhere near football or any sport. And actually, if you listen to the contributions, I had to sit through it for about 5 hours last night. Very few MPs actually engaged with the detail of the bill.
Correct.
It was, my club are great because of X, and my club is great because of Y. Aren't they great? We all know that. My job as a politician, I believe, fundamentally, as a fan first, is to look at the problem and come up with a solution. It's not to tell people what they want to hear, and that's the problem. Politics is too much like that now. And under Kemi, we are telling out how it is, and this is going to put ticket prices up. No doubt about it.
I mean, you're inside the House of Commons, we are not. Can you see the brakes being pulled on this?
Well, there was a lot of rumours going around. It's, we're nearly at the end of the season, right? So the new government promised this nearly a year ago. I think there's a lot of nervousness, is what I hear. Obviously, the Prime Minister's a big Arsenal fan, as we all know. Arsenal are not happy about this. They've said this quite publicly. So there's a lot of nervousness around it. It's sat in the Lords for a long time. The government have accepted 24 amendments already. We are about to go into Bill Committee in June, so that will last at least a month. Realistically, third reading's not going to come until July. If then, maybe not. So start of the next season, just before we get it through the House of Commons. So this thing is not moving fast.
Nobody really wants it.
Yeah.
I mean, none of the serious minds really want it. If you talk to Rick Parry in front of a camera, he wants it because it's a lever to pull for distribution. But they don't want it past that. They don't want it past the pressure on the Premier League. If you listen to the politicians, with all due respect, I listened to the then Shadow Sports Minister doing a presser, last year. Didn't know what she was talking about. Light on detail. I think it was Louie French. Had no detail behind it. I listened to Oliver Dowden 3 or 4 years ago at the DCMS. Clueless. Didn't have, great for the top end front of house, strap line. Dig into the detail, no substance there.
Right.
So, from my point of view, I think that football has got a lot. They brought it upon themselves. A lot of this.
I agree.
They brought it upon themselves. But the fact of the matter is, if you regulate an industry like sport, and what is it you're fixing? Are you fixing Bury? This is not an industry like any other industry that should be immune from anything. It has its challenges. But when you look at the football pyramid in England against the football pyramids around the world, the European countries must be looking at us going, those English are crazy. They have an unprecedented success, and now they're trying to steal defeat from the jaws of victory by regulating an industry that's pretty much been a blinding success with a few exceptions.
Right. Louis, I'm banking on this being a yes. We're coming up to 11 o'clock. A short bulletin. you give us a couple of minutes the other side of that.
Absolutely, no problem.
Thanks very much indeed. Stay with us in this, because obviously it is a topic that's constantly in the conversation. This business of a regulator in football. And the Shadow Sports Minister, Louie French MP, will stay with us the other side of this.